Welcome to the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I am your host, Tracy Bloom, and this is Books, Kids, and Creations, a show that features people who inspire and uplift future generations with their work. I am here today with Miry Whitehill and also Jennifer Jackson, both of which are in California. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
You both are phenomenal people. For those of you who don't know, Miry Whitehill is the founder and executive director of the award-winning nonprofit Miry's List that helps support families that are resettling to the United States as refugees. And also Jennifer Jackson is an author. She has a wonderful career that she began in theater, which is exciting for so many reasons. And they just put out this beautiful book called Our World is a Family. It's so timely, especially with everything going on in the world. I really want to know all about this book, but before we jump into it, Miry, I would like to talk about how you got started with Miry's List, because I believe just from watching some of your TED Talks and things, this began as just a random act of kindness, right? And it evolved into something else.
That's such a good question. And like so many great things in life, this was definitely not planned. In 2016, at the time I was taking a break from my job in advertising, I was on maternity leave with a newborn and a toddler at home. And I was introduced to a family who had just moved to Los Angeles about 3 weeks prior as refugees from Syria. A friend of mine had met them through her church, and she thought to introduce us because our babies were just about the same age. And I, originally went to their home just to drop off a couple of things for the baby. And once I was there, I could just kind of look around the room and see that there was a whole lot of things that, I felt were really important things that were missing. Things that I certainly wouldn't be able to function in my home with my kids without, things like towels, things like a mattress in the cribs, in the baby's crib. And, this meeting with this one family and then getting, the incredible opportunity to meet them in their home is ultimately what led me down the amazing road of learning what life is like for folks who are coming to the United States as refugees. And, here we are six or so years later. Miry's List is a full-fledged nonprofit organization. We actually enrolled our 850th family in the program this week.
That's amazing.
So we've been able to touch the lives of not only it's now thousands of people who have participated in our 1-year support program for new arrivals, but also hundreds of thousands of American people who have jumped in to help those families in really important ways. So that's where the seeds of this book come from. And, through this work, I got to meet Jennifer, which is, one of the best parts for me, and, all of the other incredible, wonderful people who have come into my life. And here we are, busier than ever. And I'm so glad to get to talk to you today.
Yeah, well, and it's really incredible, like you're saying, that how you get to open so many doors and meet so many people through your work. And so I thought, I wonder how she met Jennifer. Is there a story there of how you guys met?
We actually met through a parenting group. And I heard right away, people were saying, oh, we're adding Miry to this parenting group. She does the most amazing work. And I read about it. And then I started doing what I could do to give gifts or volunteer. And I approached her just from my experience as a writer. I thought there has to be a way to turn this incredible mission into a book for children so that we can engage the littlest kids in conversation and action about this. And so I just took a bold move and I was like, hey, have you ever thought about a book? And we started talking, and Miry has the most amazing ideas for how to communicate these ideas and this mission. And so we just went back and forth, ended up creating the book together, revising. It took a long process of then getting an agent who could put the book out into the world. We found an amazing editor and publisher who really understands how important this message is. So that's how we got together and the book came to be.
Yeah, and I was going to ask about, the illustrations that are in here are so magical. I mean, they're just so powerful, but you have various languages in here. You have examples of how families might feel when they come here, what children can do to welcome them. And everything in here is so well written, and the illustrations are so great. How did you find your illustrator? Was that through the publisher?
Yeah, the editor and the publisher matched us with the incredible illustrator Nomar Perez, and the publisher Source Books. We were just so lucky that they found him. And for me, one of the things that really stands out about these images is just how beautiful they are. Yeah, there's Nomar. But how joyful they are. Yeah. And even when there's a sadness in the moments, it feels very connected. It doesn't feel like something that kids couldn't connect to and empathize with. And so I thought he did just a beautiful job of creating those moments. And actually the inside, this is sort of a hidden surprise, the inside of the jacket is the languages from the book.
I did not even see that.
There's a poster. People can put it up like a poster. Yeah.
Oh, that's genius. That's really neat. And the process for putting this together, how long about did it take you from, because it really, as I was reading it, I thought this book is a sheer embodiment of Miry's List, just in book form, but in a way that everyone at basically any age can grasp and be inspired by. So how long about did this take you to create?
I think it was about 3 years between the time that Jennifer and I started having actual conversations about what the words would be and what the book might be, until the time it came into the world. It just came out March 8th, 2022. So we're about 3 weeks in, and it's definitely been for me, this is a first time experience. This is my first book. And I feel like I'm learning every single day. And I think that there was a lot of phases in the development of the book. So, the first while was Jennifer and I getting together and working through words. And, there is a format to a picture book that, we kind of have to fit everything into, which is a limited number of words and a certain cadence and flow. And, once we felt that was really solid, we went on the next phase of turning it into a manuscript, which includes a lot more than just the words of the book. Jennifer brought her expertise to this part. And then, for me, it was about putting those words into the world and talking about this with kids as much as possible. Because obviously I'd been, all the while that I'm working with new arrival families, I'm a single parent. And so like my kids are with me a lot of the time when we're going to meet families. And so I had the opportunity to talk through this with my kids a whole lot, but then wanting to have these conversations with a whole lot more kids. So we actually created an after school club. It was at my son's elementary school. It was for kids in preschool to 3rd grade. And it was sessions that, we read the book and then we talked about the issue and then we would do activities together. And so I got to spend about an hour a week with kids, really listening to what their questions were, what their interests were, what their favorite parts were. And that was kind of the reassurance process for me, that knowing that like, okay, the thing that we came up with, this is resonating with kids in a way that they can understand. And also they're taking home these empowering feelings of, okay, I'm going to put this into practice versus, potentially worrying kids about what, other people around the world are experiencing, or even the uncertainty of their own safety. So there's a lot of moving parts here, and, it's been a journey. And
yeah. And now the journey of the book has just begun. And
Totally.
I mean, as I was reading this, I started thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to be able to impact so many children at so many schools, because I can't remember if I read it on your website, probably on your website, but it talked about how oftentimes when children come over from different countries, those children, they go to school and the kids are the first people that they really interact with as kids. And so something like this helps educate and break down the barriers for everyone in the room. And so those children that come over receive such a welcome. And I thought, oh, that's so special and so wonderful. So I can only imagine how many author visits you guys are going to do, and school visits and all kinds of things. Do you have any kind of like book tours or anything scheduled for it yet?
We've done a lot of appearances and talks already, and then we have some planned. And one of the things that I think classrooms can do, or individual families can do, is actually go to our websites and request. Well, first, if it's an individual, you can just download these beautiful printed pages for writing welcome letters, which is one of the activities that Miry's List engages in. And classrooms can actually request a whole kit from the publisher, which includes a book, letter writing activity, other activities beyond that. And sometimes what we can do then is also, if the classroom wants it, we can do a Zoom into classrooms all over the country and sort of read the book, answer questions. And the kids have the most amazing questions. They're so ready for this work.
Yeah. And then I love that you guys are doing so much work with kids, and kids are so honest too. Like when you were going through your, pre-publication phase, I do that too with some of my work. I'll have beta reader kids, and they are honest and they will tell you, no, I didn't like this, or yes, I did. And kids do genuinely seem so excited about, interacting with new people, doing new things, bringing joy to others. And so I'm excited for this book, and I'm also excited about all the work that you're doing in the world, and especially, with the crisis in Ukraine. I'm sure that people are looking for ways to help, and Miry's List has, you do a supper, providing supper and meal plans. You do a whole wide array of things. So if people want to help with this, are there certain things that you recommend that they might be able to do?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the point. That's what we want. We want people to read this book, have these conversations with their family, and then put it into practice. And we have been doing this work, which is welcoming families who are resettling in the United States as refugees since 2016. And during that time, we have been able to listen and learn from families who are coming here and telling us what the hardest parts are. And by the way, it's not all hardest parts. A lot of it is joyful feelings, and our families are happy to be here and they're excited for their future and the adventure that they are on. But it is so hard. And, for the last year for us particularly has been crisis after crisis, responding to families, mostly families from Afghanistan, who have had to leave in a rush, oftentimes without suitcases, oftentimes without the chance to even say goodbye to their friends and family because they had to leave with very little notice. And, we are hoping that this book will bring more people into this work, because, what you can do when you go to Miry'sList.org is you can send a housewarming gift directly to a family. And that's the list part of the Miry's List. We, one of the things that we do, because we're partnering with families for 12 full months, which includes an array of programming, some of which is in person, some of which is virtual, some of which is about stuff, some of which is about relationships, learning, but a great place to just begin, because you're fired up about the book and you're excited about the mission, and you want to just sit with your kid and do a thing. Go to our website, click see the list. It's the first link when you get there, and you can browse our family's wish list, and you can send a housewarming gift directly to a family. You can write a gift message. You can let them know that you're here for them. And the person who receives that, it doesn't come to us. It's not a donation to Miry's List. This is a gift You are sending family to family, friend to friend. I promise you, the value of that gift is not the thing inside the box. It is the feeling that the recipient gets when they know that they are welcome here and they are wanted here. We are able to counteract messages that are heard in the media about the way that American people feel about immigrants and refugees, just through these simple and direct acts of kindness. Writing welcome letters is something that is accessible to anyone, even if you don't know how to write. A kid 3 years old can draw a picture and send it to us, and we can make sure that that gets to an actual person who will feel the love from that. The last thing I just want to mention on this is that the families who are coming to the United States with, coming with the permission of the US government, by the way, because the federal government oversees all refugee admissions in the United States. It's the State Department. And so the idea of an illegal refugee, it doesn't exist in the US. And so the families that are coming here, they have gone through very difficult journeys. Often they have left communities that were very close-knit, where they had aunts, uncles, cousins, friends living in multi-generational households. They miss their families every single day. And when we can show up to be with someone in this very difficult time, we are not there to in any way replace something that was lost, but to just be with someone in their time of need. It has transformative impact. And to be perfectly honest, this is an opportunity for us. Here we are, we have the opportunity to welcome people who have been through heartache and loss. That's, what else should we be doing rather than this?
Yeah, it's such a beautiful message all around. And to your point, there's nothing better than just showing support for somebody, whether it's through a letter or even just a smile, or welcoming someone, or bringing them a blanket, or anything. It's just that human touch, that human support. It's empathy. And it's so wonderful all that you're doing. And I personally know that I'm going to be going into Miry's List and signing up to donate some things, just because I want to be a part of it. And I don't see how anyone else wouldn't want to be a part of it, because we're all human, like we all deserve this love and support. And I couldn't imagine going through that, having to leave a family or a home, or, especially in a time of crisis, or all of the unknowns. And so just having that support, whether it's from a stranger or anonymous, it just would mean the world. And so I'm so happy that you are doing what you're doing. And I also think it's super cool that schools can sign up to send letters, and there's these, the kits that they can either download or request from the publisher. I'm just very excited about this book. And are there any future plans for second book to follow, or anything like that? Or is that too early?
It's a little early because this one just came out, but we are definitely interested. We have ideas for more of this kind of creativity and work and connection to audiences for this age group, and I think to be determined. But for sure, we have ideas for stories beyond this, definitely.
Yeah. And I always ask my guests, if you have advice for future generations that are listening, or that are interested in the work that you've done, or where you've come from, what advice do you have for future generations? And I guess I'll start with Jennifer.
Okay, I would say I'll come from the writing perspective, because, or the drawing perspective, if someone likes to draw more than write. We need your voice. We need, and if you're, think about pictures as being your voice too. We need people's perspectives. We need all of the kids who want to tell stories to tell them in any way that it is that they want to, whether it's a book or a play or dance or anything like that. It's so important that kids feel empowered to speak up for who they are, what they want out of the world, the changes they want to see. And I really hope that, let's say a child sees this and they're inspired to draw, and they see these images and they think, I want to draw my family, and they do that, or I want to tell my story, and they keep writing and keep creating.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And I also like that in this book, you show so many types of families too. And it just reminds you that, there's so many different types of families, and every family is different. And we all just share that common place of needing love and needing support and feeling welcome. So that was wonderful advice. And Miry, what advice do you have for any future generations based on the work that you've done?
Yeah, I think that one of the most important things that people can know, whether it's, you're just kind of getting involved in this work and learning about what the experiences of these families are, or it's something that you've been involved in for a long time and you know a great deal about. I think it's really important to remember that just because somebody in the world has had a very difficult journey, a journey that's different from yours, and maybe their struggles are harder, that doesn't mean that you don't get to have a hard time too. And, I think it's really interesting, like sometimes, I go out and I talk with my friends or volunteers or donors, and, they'll say something like, oh, I'm having such a hard day, but you know what, like I have it so good, compared to the families, like, how do I even I need to just get out of my own head because like I should be fine. My struggles aren't that hard.
Mm.
But, if you use that logic, then nobody on the whole planet ever gets a chance to have a hard day, because there is always someone who has it harder than you. And so I guess the challenge is, when you're feeling, if that comes up, that feeling of, oh, I shouldn't feel this way because I don't have enough struggle to feel this pain. I think remind yourself that pain that you're going through, that is the bridge. That is where empathy lives. That's where compassion lives. That's where we can connect with people who have different life experiences from us. So, I think it's interesting. Sometimes I'll talk to, I'm on the rapid response team at Miry's List. I get to call families and talk to them, welcome them to the country, talk to them. How many pillows do you need? How many blankets do you need? And it's pretty common that somebody will say to me on one of those phone calls, oh, but, me and my family, we're having a hard time, but we don't have it as bad as, other families in your program have it.
Huh.
So, that feeling of I shouldn't feel this way because other people have it worse, that is a human feeling. All of us struggle with that in some way. Yes. So that would be my advice, give yourself the room to be where you're at. You get to have as many hard days as you need to have. And then, what you do next is, that's where you get to be your best self. You get to use that feeling as the bridge towards another person.
That's such great advice for everybody, for children and adults, that you are perfectly fine with experiencing feelings, and don't try to compare your feelings to someone else's, because we're all on different paths and we're all in different parts of our journey. And I think even as writers, sometimes, I'm sure Jennifer, you can attest to comparing your work or your journey as an author to someone else's success or where someone else is. And it's all different. It's all a life process and a learning experience, and we're all here together. And so, that's just such good advice to, just acknowledge your feelings, and you have a right to have them and feel them, and everyone deserves a chance to have those feelings and have them be heard and honored. So great advice. Yes.
Oh.
And for those listeners who want to learn more about Miry's List, we will post a link to your website. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who would like to purchase this amazing book, Our World is a Family, there will be a link somewhere here. And we will post that, right below. And thank you so much for being here. It's been an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.